not pressing post is a mistake because it changed my life. That post, if we're going from that post to that particular client, has made me the most money I've ever made.
Welcome to the Create with Charles podcast, where we dive into the truth about turning your passion into profit. I'm your host, Charles Reynolds, and with me is Abby McPherson. Abby's a longtime friend, and she's also the owner of ATA Media, which is a content agency where she does photography, videography, social media strategy, and consulting, all of the above. I call her the content repurposing queen, because that is something that I've been following her in, learning how to repurpose my content. To give her flowers, she has secured features on CNN, Connect the World, and provides educational tutorials on her YouTube page, which is Abby Teaching Afar. Whether it's visuals, audio, she believes that you should do it at a high quality, and she provides that service to her clients, and she teaches you how to do the same. Abby, thanks for joining the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate you all the way from
Abu Dhabi is where I live primarily,
man.
yes.
So let's just start there.
All right.
So I met you in Maryland, and all of a sudden you said, hey, I'm moving to Dubai. Yeah. What? How did that come about?
So what happened was life was happening. Was reaching or had just passed the milestone birthday, the 30th birthday. Okay. And we're all searching for new meaning. So it's just okay, what do I do next? I already have a decent job, but it's wasn't married, didn't have any children, and I was looking for just something else to do. I went on vacation to Dubai with a high school friend. Okay. She told me about it. I happened to just happenstance, just text her hey, how you doing? She's oh, I'm going to Dubai in November for Thanksgiving. And I was well, if you told me, I would have went with you. She's well, the tickets are still available. So I invited myself on her trip. Okay. And it was through that trip that we linked up with our Spanish teacher from high school who was living in Dubai at the time. Oh, okay. And kind of explaining my situation and where I was in life, she said, you need to come over here. And I was what? What do you mean? I'm a physical education teacher. So people always assume that when you are teaching abroad that you're teaching English. Mm-hmm. And that is not always the case. So I was well, can I teach PE? And she was yeah, I teach Spanish. Mm-hmm. So I was okay, that's dope. So I looked into it after we got back. A year later, things were put into place and God did some miraculous things to allow me to be able to go exactly to Dubai to be able to teach physical education at an American school.
Right, man, that's crazy. When I think of that, that's a very brave and courageous thing to do, because I know, my wife and I have been talking about moving, but I'm not there.
I will say the opportunity I had to visit first helped calm my nerves and also my family's as well, because I was there and I made it back the first time. Yeah. So, and me being able to see how clean and safe and nice it was gave me the confidence to say okay, I'll give this a shot. Yeah. But I give all the props to people who literally go to places sight unseen and they just make it work. But I had a certain level of comfort being able to go over there because I had visited.
Gotcha. But still, you don't have the same support system. It's definitely outside of your comfort zone. My family, they don't even go outside where they were born. I just admire it. I admire the fact that you took that step, and it's inspirational, to be honest. But I want to ask you, so you said you did physical education. So how did you jump from teaching to having your own content agency? That's what I'm really interested in. That's a whole different lane.
So I will say this. It is very true when they say that we actually changed careers a number of different times, because I didn't even start off in education. Oh. My background, my undergrad is sports, entertainment, and event management. Okay. I have a master's of business administration. And then I got the master's of education. So I was initially going to go into the entertainment industry, and that kind of just, with my beliefs and everything, kind of got shut down, which was fair. It was okay. I was fine with it. I fell into education, and through falling into education and the appreciation and love for play, I was able to get my master's of education as well, which I was very excited about. So you asked me how I went from education to content creation. Moving to Dubai, a lot of packages that you get in education that comes with accommodation. So typically your normal package will be whatever salary they sign you up for. Mm-hmm. It usually comes with some type of housing and then also insurance and stuff like that, prepackaged. So they took care of all of that on top of it being tax-free. So going there, I was able to take care of all of my consumer debt. And that gave me the space to be able to think oh, well, what else can I do? And that unlocked my ability to create again, because the stress of life and finances and hustle and bustle and concerned about my safety in the US kind of wasn't present. So I was like, okay, well, you know, I now have money in the account. Like, it's just there. What can I do? It's like, all right, well, I've always tinkered with technology. Let's see what's up. So the typical thing, YouTube University, which led me to full-time filmmaker, which led me to getting a whole bunch of other stuff like equipment, cameras. And because I was in physical education, it's like the greatest environment to be able to like take video, give examples, show whatever you need to show. And then we had field days and all these things that I could create content for to show to my parents that were watching, or to be able to show how to do a push-up or a jumping jack to a kid via video instead of me physically having to do it for the 7-8 classes I might have had in a day. So utilizing content within my teaching like structure helped tremendously, and I got my feet more than wet. And then so what happened is along the way, I just liked it and appreciated it more and more and wanted to do it more often, until I told my school, hey, I want to do this full time. And they said, we're good. And I said, I'm not coming back.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I was going to ask you a question, because you were in Dubai and you were teaching during the pandemic, right?
Correct.
And that's kind of how, for me, I started getting into content creation, was during the pandemic when I couldn't go nowhere and I had all this time on my hands. Is that the same for you? Like, did that kind of speed up the process for you?
I will say it definitely gave me a concentrated amount of time to be able to try whatever I wanted to do. I turned my house into like a bootleg green screen studio. I was making I literally started a YouTube page for my kids, just making different activities, resources. I got into like motion graphics a little bit and everything like that. So was making, if you see now, so all of the PE Bowmans and stuff like that online who are making all these really fancy activities and movement things for children. I got into that space just a little bit, but it just literally allowed me to experiment with an unlimited amount of time. And so I really enjoyed my creative hub or seclusion of like that COVID time, because I had unlimited time to just mess around and try things out. So it was a dope time for me. Still stressful as being a teacher, but great time to experiment with my creativity.
How similar, though, is creating content and teaching? Did your teaching skills or your teaching experience help you with your content creation?
I'll say this to the camera. I feel like teachers are the most underrated content creators on the planet.
Right.
They are underappreciated and underestimated when it comes to their ability to be able to deliver a successful message to get a point across for people to understand. And this is teachers who teach everybody from infants to college professor level. The fact that you're given a certain amount of children, say the average is supposed to be about 22, maybe you're given 32, maybe you have even more, and they're saying, in this amount of time, I need you to take them from A to Z or else. But you have these, let's just say 25 in a perfect world, or not perfect world. You have 25 students. You have 25 different minds, 25 different levels of ability. Most of them might be able to listen to you and actually follow instructions. Some of them are going to want to read it. Some of them are going to want to listen. Some of them need to be shown more than one time. Some of them need your one-on-one time. Some of them are fine in a group. But you have all these different people, and you're expected to make sure that they understand the material to be able to pass possibly a test, to get to the next level, to be tossed off to the next teacher. The resources that teachers create out of thin air to make that effective stuff is what has allowed me to be as strong as I am with my content creation. And I want to help other teachers understand and empower them on how much power they have when it comes to this content creation, just like narrative. It's just reframing it the way that we understand it, and they can produce so much quality and value for other people. So my ability to explain to people how they can create and or repurpose their content is due from me having to teach thousands of children how to kick a ball in different ways.
I do social media, like content creation coaching, and when I talk to just businesses that I work with about social media, like the purpose of content from my standpoint is to help people transform, right? And so that's what you're kind of saying. Teachers, like, that's their job. They have to get a child from not knowing, being ignorant in some area, to being able to be competent. And it's the same thing with like social media, where part of what you teach is how can you repurpose your content, right? For someone who doesn't know how to do that, after watching your content, they now are competent at repurposing their content. And that's what everybody pretty much does. If you're using content creation to build a business or, to generate leads, you're providing some form of transformation for your audience. And so I see that with teachers, you're equipped with the skills to actually be a good content creator.
Correct. But unfortunately, sometimes it's just the weight of education at times. They don't have the energy at the end of the day to be able to go and create another avenue or resource for them to be able to accomplish that for themselves, which is why we end up in the cycle of having to stay. I loved my job. It was just the structure of it just didn't fit my needs and what I wanted to do for myself or for my community or for the world. So I just needed to get out. I tell people I just needed a bigger classroom. And I get that bigger classroom by being online and teaching people how to do it, and being able to give back to my education community helps me help them continue to deliver that message to the students that I'm not in a gym with.
Yeah. Another thing you said too that I thought was profound was that not every student is the same.
Correct.
And it's the same with content creation. Like, I think some people, they are afraid to create in a certain niche because they think it's oversaturated, or they think, oh, everybody knows this. But I think the truth is that there's a person out there who needs to hear it the way that you teach it, because not everybody learns the same. Have you found that as well? Like in your, okay.
So I have spent thousands of dollars on various programs and coaching and things of that nature, to where the oversaturation comes from people thinking that people don't want to learn from them. But it can be as simple as people like the sound of your voice. Maybe they want to learn from a Black male. Maybe they want to learn from a Black female. Maybe they want to learn from somebody who is from the United States or has a Midwestern accent. Yeah. It can be simple, minute things that allow people to gravitate to specifically you, and for reasons that you have no idea. One of the best examples I can give of something that touched me from somebody looking at my content was the fact that they made a comment. They said, "Thank you so much for your content. You were helping me learn English." I was like, that was not my intention. What do you mean? They watched my channel, not necessarily for the actual content, or maybe they did, but they were saying they're from a foreign country and they are learning how to speak English because they just like listening to me. They can understand maybe what I'm saying, or they just like the dialect that I have, but it was effective for them. And I was like, that blew my mind. And I was like, okay, well, it's bigger than me. I don't care what you think the market has for you or doesn't have for you. You're serving a purpose for somebody in some way that might be, unbeknownst to you. So you got to keep showing up.
So last question on this topic. What lessons have you learned pivoting your career from being a teacher to a full-time content creator and owning your own content agency?
Okay, so what I'll say from teaching to content creation and entrepreneurship is that you can never have enough money. So I was the person who went straight from having a full-time job that paid for my rent, that paid for my health insurance, to transitioning like by myself. And I thought I had enough money, and that was not the truth. So if you are trying to go full-time, I would definitely just make sure you have a financial plan to take care of yourself for at least like the first year. And don't be liberal with it. Like be honest, because running a business is expensive, from continuing to learn to your tools and resources, all of the softwares that you might use, to your expenses and emergencies and things of that nature. So one of the biggest lessons was the fact that if you're going to jump, make sure you got something to jump into, because it's a lot. Also, I was blessed to at least have a skill set to be able to leverage. So the fact that I can do videography, photography, and editing, and also along with my own reasoning on how you can continue to do strategy, I had something to leverage. So while I may have a business or an agency that provides services, I'm the one that can do the work. So I didn't have to rely on other people. So it's not like starting a restaurant where I have to have employees. I might just have to work harder to deliver these deliverables. But whatever it is, make sure that you can perform it with the least amount of overhead. So since I had the talent as well, or the resource to be able to do it, it helped me keep my bottom line at least lower until I could branch out for help with certain projects. Right. And then the third thing, like especially if it's service-based, we have to look pricing in the face. And granted, we have to be reasonable at times, but the way that you structure your pricing is going to be the differentiation between if you're going to continue in business or if you're going to go back to work.
What you're saying is don't undervalue yourself.
You can't, or else go ahead and put that application in and go back to work. If you're going to undervalue yourself, you probably make more money at your job.
That's true. And it hurts the market overall, because the client is expecting that everybody charges this. Right. They don't.
So let's just say you're out here doing jobs for like $250, but you had a job that paid you 45, 50 grand a year. You're literally making less money than you did at your job. You might as well go back to work. you're making less than minimum wage and you're struggling.
That's so true. What do you think is the fear? You know, when I think about just myself and just, you know, talking to other creative entrepreneurs and content creators, so many of them struggle with like imposter syndrome. Is that something that you've experienced?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, what, to this day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's something you just don't get over. Or you have to be cognizant of and you have to work through.
What I'll say about that imposter syndrome, it is when you put yourself in position to be able to serve other people and the validation that you get from clients who really appreciate the work that you do. I have been validated so much over the past 2 years that it has changed my perspective on how I run my business and how I want to continue to run it. I've worked with clients who have been amazing and clients who have been like you dread them calling you for another project. But the validation that I've gotten, I find freedom in my ability to work with them creatively and also be valued financially when they're not nickel and diming me. So so unfortunately, like, you know, they say you have to kiss a bunch of frogs before you find your prince. It's almost the same thing in business. You got to work sometimes with a lot of clowns, almost no offense, before you find somebody that you're cool with working with and want to continue business or at least find the avenue for business that you like. I spoke with a creator the other day, and I find that as creatives, the issue is that we can do too many things or we can learn too many things and we offer too much for too little.
That's a fact. Man, you in my closet right now.
So we don't narrow it down to say, no, I only do this.
Yeah.
So it becomes something that it's sought after for you to perform maybe that 1 to 2 things that people know that you do well or excellent versus the watered down version of everything that you could learn, but you're not proficient in, right? So for instance, somebody hit me up about wanting to do some animations for a book that she released. And at the time I was like, oh yeah. And then I had to sit down and be honest with myself. Like, are you really about to sit here and learn Adobe Animate in a weekend? Yeah. I told her, I said, I don't think you deserve my efforts when I'm learning. Yeah. So go ahead and find somebody else, because if it was for something else that I'm actually well-versed in, it will serve you better. But trying to learn an entire program in a weekend for $200 and deliver a trash product also makes me look terrible. Yeah. And I'd rather turn down a job that I can't do and give somebody else the opportunity to give them a good product than for them to pay me or even for me to do it for free and they get less than what they deserve.
Yeah, I hear that. For me, the validation doesn't help my imposter syndrome. I mean, my wife will tell you, people tell me all the time, you're so good, and it doesn't. It just over my head. I think one of the things, you know, what that goes along with imposter syndrome is, so like there's different reasons why you have imposter syndrome. One of mine is like, if I feel like I picked it up too easy, then I must not be good at it. But everyone will say, yo, how did you learn that so fast? And how did you get good so fast? And in my mind, I'm like, I can't be good. I just picked this up so fast. You know what I mean? But the truth is, when you compare it to some stuff that's out there, it is comparable to somebody who's been doing it for a longer time. So like, I saw you smiling. Is that something that...
So one of my clients references that we all have a certain level of genius. All of us have access to it. Yeah. And this is something I probably blame the education system for as well. Because when we do pick things up quickly, sometimes our teachers or our mentors can be like, what did you do? Or did you cheat? Yeah. Or don't show off. Yeah. Or, you know, wait until the rest of the class is finished. Or you answer too many questions or you ask too many questions. Mm-hmm. So sometimes, unfortunately, when we pick things up too quickly, because I suffer with the same thing. Because it's just like, oh yeah, this is nothing, right? And I've struggled with it in school. I've struggled with it at work. Mm-hmm. I've struggled with it in entrepreneurship to where I undervalue my abilities because it came too easy. But that's the other way around, which brings back even to pricing. Because of the way that we understand and that the rate that we absorb and can put things out, it makes it more valuable. The problem is, I feel like it's honestly the Black experience, that people underestimate us so much that when we can do something that's phenomenal, we downplay it.
I agree. Like I said, we in my closet today. But yeah, so let's move a little bit. As a creator or a creative entrepreneur, you talked about niching down into like being good, or at least marketing your company as doing one thing really well. Is that how you started talking about repurposing content, or is that something completely different?
So Even when it comes to the topic of niching down, like I've heard a lot of different opinions. One of the strongest ones that I have now is that when it comes to the business or the services that you give, anytime you add an and into the situation, it waters down your value. I was at a meeting, I can't remember, and this is a problem. I literally can't remember what she said first because she said two things afterwards. And I was left with the last thing that had nothing to do with the first. This lady stood up. She's like, hi, I'm so-and-so. I am an X, a Y, and a Z. And I'm like, what do I do with that? You do like dog therapy, you're selling flower arrangements, and you're doing real estate. What do I come to you for? And you don't have enough time to do all of that like effectively. So my belief is whatever that you do, you can maybe serve different people, but you need to kind of narrow it down to one thing that I told somebody the other day, an umbrella, right? So I've called myself a digital media strategist. And the reason I've done that, because digital media hosts a bunch of different things and it's a conversation starter. When it comes to repurposing content, sometimes I think it goes over people's head, right? So I've tried to play around with different things, but then cut out the and so that I can have a conversation about the one thing that I do versus you saying, hey, my name is Charles and I sell t-shirts. We clean sneakers and I wash your windows. You'd be like, I don't know which one I need or which one I'm more interested in because I'm confused.
I got you. And I agree with you on that. I think for me, that was an area of growth in just pitching myself. And I kind of stay away from saying I do this or I do that. It's more so my pitch is I help so-and-so accomplish such and such.
Right.
So,
but is it such and such and such and such and such and such?
No, but the problem, like for example, like one of my pitches, my main pitch is like I help businesses bring in more money, more customers through video. Good. Right. It's that simple. Wonderful. And that way people, it's not so much labeling me as something, but it's like they understand how I help them. And so I think more creators or more entrepreneurs in general need to craft it in that way rather than trying to say I am, because nobody cares what you are. No. They only care how you help them. So you might as well just say it like that.
I think mine is right now is I help business owners show up online every day.
Perfect. So repurposing content is just a topic in that.
It's a vehicle.
It's a vehicle in that, in what you're trying to accomplish with people. What made you talk about it so much, right? Because like I said, in my mind, that's what I associate with you as a content creator. It's like I know Abby can probably teach me some things on how to like take one piece of content and get the maximum value out of it.
I think it's untouched potential. So let's just say the video that we're recording right now, you can go and edit this and post it one time and be done with it. Versus things that I have a YouTube video about this too, where I took one YouTube video and I turned it into like 20 pieces of content. And that's because I wanted it to do 20 pieces. So I took the video, I literally gave the video a job. I said, this video is going to give me 4 clips from my guest. I want 2 video clips from myself. I want to have thumbnails for all of them. I want to have a carousel about it. I want a question poll about it. I also want to have a quote graphic. And I told that video, that's what I want from it. I'm not necessarily talking AI right now, but those are the deliverables and the requirements, the assignment that I gave to that particular piece of content. And it can last for as long as I need it to. I can get more than 4. And I find a lot of times when people think about repurposing, they get overwhelmed at what could take place instead of saying what they want to happen. So if we were to talk about, like, once again, this video here, you could say, oh man, we can repurpose to, I'm blue in the face. I'm like, you're correct. But you can also just say, I just want 3 clips out of this. You have more, but you can just say, I want 3 clips and be done, knowing that you have something already in the back that you can, revisit at a later time.
I like that. I guess it's just like setting clear objectives for what you're doing with your content instead of just like going in without any intention.
It's just setting basic expectations. I tell people, like, literally becoming the boss of your own content.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I like that. So I'm reading this book. It's called Key Person of Influence. Highly recommend it.
David, what's his name? I know who you're talking about, though.
Yeah, it's a great book. I'm like probably halfway through. And when it comes to niches, I've heard a lot of different philosophies. His strategy is finding a sub niche to start, becoming an authority in the sub niche, and then expanding.
Yep.
And that kind of seems like what you're doing, what you did with the repurposing content is like, hey, you just talked about it so much, provided so much value. It was like a sub niche. And then as people start to know, like, and trust you, then you can expand and talk about all things, and helping people show up online daily.
And that is something that I'm also experimenting with as well. So I have something that I'm the go-to person for whatever, repurposing, right? I'm finding now, as everybody has kind of been witnessing, that the landscape when it comes to the algorithm and the views and likes that you get has severely diminished for whatever reason, which is fine. And I'm finding even in this past week here that I have gotten more views on more of my day-to-day lifestyle stuff than things that have substance. I got over 3,000 views or whatever on a time lapse that I did marching in my sister's living room, complaining about the fact that I needed to make 8K steps in a day.
Yeah.
I got more views from that than like a talking head situation to where I'm explaining to people the opportunities that they're missing by repurposing.
Yeah.
So people are now wanting to kind of be more entertained or more about your life and things. And what I'll say to that is, because that's a lot of people's hold up when it comes to content creation. Oh, I don't want them to know too much about my life. I'm a private person. And, I usually have a little, example when it comes to like a book of sticky notes. It's like, if your life is a sticky note pad, there might be 100 pieces of paper in here. Choose 3 pieces of paper that you're willing to talk about and just share those 3 things. So with me, you're going to hear about my content creation process. You might hear about any trips that I take or things that I'm struggling with working out consistently.
Yeah.
But I choose areas of my life that I don't mind sharing. And everything else is for me is private. Because one of the biggest issues when it comes to people having to create content is they don't know when they are on camera or when they're off. They don't know when to put the phone down. But if you create those boundaries and those parameters, you're knowing, like, if I'm on vacation, so you have your family, right? You can say we only share X, Y, and Z. So if y'all are on vacation and your phone is in your pocket, because we don't share this. Yeah. This is us time. Or maybe we just share the journey to the destination. When we're there, that's us. And when we come back, we share coming back. But you pick and choose so that you can be I was struggling with being in the moment, being present. Yeah. Because it was Dubai. Literally, I'm at the Dubai mall watching the fountains. I have my phone up and I'm looking at the Dubai fountains through my phone screen. And something was like, Abby, put your phone down. Like, them jokers want to come over here. They need to come over here. And so you find places to be present. You share those specific things that you do, and everything else is a treat.
I think as a testament to what you're saying is that we know that relatable content does well. And when you show your life, even if it's just certain aspects of it, it's probably going to be the most relatable thing you can share. Probably why that relatable content did so well. Now that you own your own content agency, how are you going about acquiring clients? Because I have my own content agency, and it's a hustle. Like, it's a hustle for me, at least at this time. So do you have like a system, or like, where are you with that?
I'm terrible at it. I am purely word of mouth. Okay. Which is a blessing. I don't want to say that it's a curse, but sales is a whole nother beast that I am just now leaning into and exploring. Okay. But I was speaking with your wife earlier, and it was more, we were talking about just having a life where you can sustain. Yeah. Right. And I think that in this realm that we're in right now, everybody's like, get as much as you can. Present day, I'm in a place where I'm earning enough to where I'm comfortable. And I don't have to make more right now. Making more will help me clear up some debt. Don't get me wrong. But I am not trying to break my back or challenge my mental health to make 100K in a month. That's not the grind that I'm on right now. I'm trying to make sure that everything that I deliver and participate in, because with content creation, you ingest so much from other people, especially when you're working for clients. It'd be a different message if it was just my content. But when I don't want to take on clients and have to repurpose stuff, because I literally take in their language. Yeah. And it becomes a part of it literally becomes a part of my personal culture. Okay. I hear you in my ear so much. I have to end up speaking like you to produce your content, to figure out what message that you want to send. So I'm very cognizant on who I work with, because their message also gets interwoven into my life and becomes a part of my message in some way, shape, or form. Just like I was talking about my other client. He believes that every child has genius level potential. That is there. Yeah. It's not leaving. So I'm mindful about who I work with. I'm mindful of, of course, there's ways that you can hire other people out. I don't feel like managing a bunch of people right now. Yeah. So I will say everything I do is word of mouth at the moment. I have room and capacity to do other things, but only if it's in my interest, only if it's something that I want to learn more about and a person's message that I can identify or connect with.
I think it's super important too, because I do have a client, for example, who, sometimes you work with clients and they, you may do a good job and they want to pull you into more of their business that you didn't sign up for, right? And I have a client now who's trying to pull me in to more things and I'm struggling towing that line. Like, this is what I can give. This is what aligns with my business goals, and I can't do that. Right. Have you experienced that as well? Just having to set boundaries with your clients?
One of the ways that I navigate it is I always hop on a call before I do work with people just to see. And I never it's not just because I'm on a call with you doesn't mean yes. Yeah. If it's something that I don't align with or agree with or something that I just don't want to do, because I always take notice of that too. It's not, I'm not doing work for work's sake. If I don't feel like doing it, I won't. Yeah. But I had a situation too where I just didn't necessarily agree with what was being shared. And it was a simple, I'm at capacity right now.
Yeah, and that's hard when someone needs the money.
I've mentioned this before.
If someone needs the money, it's hard to turn it down.
If you're at a place where you absolutely need the money, you're in the wrong place. If you're at a place of desperation to where you're willing to compromise your morals and values and your ethics for $1, you need to reconsider what you're doing. You might need to go work for a second. Because if you're at that place of desperation, either you need to raise your prices in general, work with better clientele, or you need to go back to work. Yeah. Because why? There's certain things that I just won't do.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people leave their careers because they don't want to do it, to then own a job they don't want to do. That's important. I've experienced that too. Even setting boundaries with my faith. Like I'm a Christian, I'm a Sunday Adventist, so I don't work on Friday nights. And having to set that boundary sometimes is difficult as well, because that's when a lot of things happen.
Which is why I'm not in the sporting industry.
Gotcha. So what's the biggest mistake you see creators making right now?
Not pressing post. I'll tell you a story why. Not pressing post is a mistake because it changed my life. One post changed my life. I'm not gonna lie to you. Okay. So that
was a really good hook. Just so you know.
I was at an event. I was with some other influencers. They invited me to come and create content alongside them. I was being shy. I didn't know what I was technically doing, but it was a different environment for me. So I'm there doing my thing, whatever. I decide that I'm going to make this content, share it with them to do what they want. I'm not going to post it on my personal brand's page because I'm fearful that these people might think that I'm trying to, ride on the coattail or ride the wave. And I didn't want popularity by association. So I posted to my business page as a body of work to say, this is a type of work that my business does, right? To have a little bit of separation. Somebody sees the post, likes the post, finds me, because my actual personal brand is attached to in the description of my business page. So watch the post. I like this. Who did this? Reads the description. Abby Teaching Afar. Goes to Abby Teaching Afar. This is who she is. Bet. Clicks the link in the bio. Looks the link in the bio. Free 15-minute consultation. Signs up for this free 15-minute consultation that I put on there maybe 2 weeks prior, just because we have a conversation. My best client to date. Wow. From the wind of posting.
And how many views did that post get?
I don't know.
No,
but
it didn't matter.
I will say that post, if we're going from that post to that particular client, has made me the most money I've ever made in one invoice.
That's so crazy, because I definitely see that. When we think about content creators, sometimes we can get so absorbed in the superficial metrics of it. But all it takes is one person to see something, to resonate with it, and to take action, to change your life, to change your business, right? That's so crazy.
It was problem solution.
That's so crazy.
They wanted that style of content. They literally tracked me down. And to date, hands down, best decision, unintentional decision that I have ever made. Not pressing post is a mistake.
Y'all hear that? Start pressing posts. I know you got 100 posts in your archive. Let them free, okay?
Release them.
Release them. Yeah, I resonate with that too. I'm doing a challenge called Keep It 100 Challenge on my Instagram.
You're doing a wonderful job on that.
And it's like, man, the challenge that I had to overcome was, sometimes you can get so caught up in making the perfect piece of content that you rob yourself of the growth that comes from iterating over and over and posting over and over, and the opportunity that comes from that. Nothing happens if you don't take action. So I've learned to kind of free my mind of the outcomes. In the last episode, we talked about creating without expectations. That's when like some of my most, I think, best content comes when I'm just creating and I'm not thinking about how many views it's going to get. Second question I have for you is, if you could create a cheat sheet for content creators, what would it include?
I got the list right here. Okay. Here we go. For cheat sheet, I would say start with what you have. Start with what you have. I've spent so much money on things that I'm not using. Start with what you have. If it's your phone, use that. If your dad's camcorder's in the garage, use that. Buy nothing. So in terms of limit those expectations, buy absolutely nothing. Start with what you have. I've made some of the best and the worst things with what I've had, but I started there. So you don't give yourself the excuse of, I don't have top level equipment. I don't have enough money. Well, use what you have. Number 2 is inspiration over comparison. So I can look at your stuff. I think your stuff is dope. Okay. But I can be inspired by your stuff, but comparing it to mine doesn't do me any justice. Like, oh man, look at those transition, look at these views, or look at whatever. It serves me zero purpose to be like, my content is not like Charles's content. But I can be inspired, like, it looks like he scripts. It looks like, he narrates his videos. I like the text on there. I can be inspired and then, take some of that information and kind of put it into my workflow. But if I'm just going to be like, I'm not going to make anything because Charles's is better than mine, it does nothing. The last one, which is like relatable to what we were just speaking about, like, you will not know until you show. You won't know if people liked it, hated it. You won't know if you liked it or hated it. You won't know anything until it's actually released into the wild so that you can get feedback. Whether the feedback is good, bad, or indifferent, it just needs to go out, because I didn't know it was helping somebody learn English. I didn't know a lot. So I didn't know until I showed it, until it was out there for people to look, judge, like, hate, pay for. And so those are my 3 things. Those are so the cheat sheet, start what you have, inspiration over comparison, and you won't know it until you literally show it.
Man, that's really good. That's really good. Abby, I appreciate you so much for coming from Abu Dhabi.
I mean, I have to say Dubai because people don't know where Abu Dhabi is, but
is that UAE?
It's literally like an hour apart.
We not really. We ain't left America.
I know, we just say Dubai. It feels inauthentic to be like, oh, I'm from Dubai. But like, I don't live in Dubai anymore. But it's the closest thing. So yes, from Dubai for sure.
We appreciate you so much flying in, joining our podcast. Can you just kind of tell the people how they can find more of you?
I got you. All right. So Abby Teaching Afar. So ABBY Teaching AFAR on all platforms. And then also I'll give you access to something. I'm going to make a content repurposing toolkit for you and your listeners or watchers or viewers. And they can go ahead and just grab that, get some of the basics of how they can literally take ownership of their content to get the results that they actually want once they think about what they want. But yeah, Abby Teaching Afar, there's website, YouTube, Instagram. Hit me up, any questions, happy to answer them.
That's it, guys. Thank you for watching the Create with Charles podcast. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and we'll see you next episode. Peace.